Hey guys, this is Kate, and this time I'm going to do a little bit different of a layout. I'm going to make an actual 12 by 12 layout, and then I'm going to make a additional insert to put next to it because I have all of these pictures from not this past Christmas, but Christmas 2012, and it was like 2 nights before Christmas, and my now husband had already talked to my parents and knew that he was going to propose, and they all knew and I didn't, and these are the pictures of a dinner that we had right before that, and I thought it was really funny. So I'm using this that they knew and I didn't. I'm using this Becky Higgins project or design H page protector. It's two 4x6s and two 4x3s. I'm going to start off with this layout first though, and I'm using a piece of Basil cardstock from my stash. I rarely do this, but I just really wanted it to be more simple because of the page that was going to accompany it. I didn't want it to be too busy. So I'm just cutting a piece of white cardstock down smaller. There's a little bit of a border, and I'm just going to put some adhesive on the middle of that there and adhere it to the colored cardstock. And I'm just going to start layering some mostly scraps. I didn't have, at this point, I've done several projects with this kit, and I only have a few pieces of full pieces of pattern paper left. Plus, I like to use scraps. So I thought about using this ampersand paper, but I decided that that was a little bit too dark of a gray, so I went with this snowflake paper instead. I really love that. I'm just cutting it down so that it's, and then I realized that's too narrow, so I just cut the branding strip off of this one, and I just freehand cut it. Then I'm going to take my distress tool and distress the edges of that just to give it a little bit of texture, and I just do it over another piece of paper so I can get rid of the, it kind of makes a mess when you do that. And then I'm just going to go around and fold up the edges. I like to do this to give paper a little bit of dimension. It's kind of the same concept as like crumpling it up. So I'm just taking different little scraps, and I'm not really cutting any of them. I'm just using them as they are. This one even had some things punched out of it, but I kind of like the way that looks, so I just left it the way that it was. And I'm taking this was actually a like 4x6 card from a Dear Lizzie paper, and I'm cutting out these little arrows because I think they're really cute, or these little groups of, they're not really arrows, they're like more like directional things to point to the picture. And the pocketed page protector is going to go to the left of the photograph. That's why, because he's facing, that's my husband, he's facing towards the left, so it wouldn't make sense to have it on the other side, I don't think. So I'm still just layering, and I normally speed up my videos to ×8, but I did it ×4 this time so I could have a little bit more time to talk. I learned that trick from Emily, who's also a design team member. She picks up her whole grouping of layers and just staples them, which is like a genius idea because it makes it so much easier. And then I'm just taking some foam adhesive and putting it underneath the photograph because I'm going to put that up on Pop Dots. I'm just going to stick this little piece of vellum in there also. And then I stick down these little directional things, and then I end up having to move them. So I probably should have put my picture down first, which I realize at this point. Like I said, I'm not really going all out on this layout just because I didn't want too much to compete with the left side. I'm just taking some of that American Crafts glitter tape ribbon in silver and putting some on the top of the layout with a little piece of washi tape underneath it. And then I'll also put some on the bottom. I just zoomed in a little bit there so that you could see better. I'm just going to go around and fold up the edges of the white paper also. I thought about stitching on it, but honestly, I have gold thread in my sewing machine right now, and I didn't feel like changing it out. Isn't that terrible? I'm sorry, I'm kind of fighting off a cold. My throat's really dry, so I'm having to drink a lot of water during this. I'm going to take one of these Print Shop transparent words, and I've done this a lot throughout the using this kit, is to incorporate that black. I use black photo corners. So it just says love. And then I am taking some black ink, and this is actually a bamboo brush. It's a #2 bamboo brush, round, and just making some droplets. And I have several different sizes of these types of brushes, and each one makes a different size drop. So that's a really good way to control how big your droplets are, is by the size of the brush that you use. So I'm taking this wood veneer from Freckled Fawn, and I'm going to take the Chromatics marker that came in one of the add-on kits, and I'm going to color it. Well, first I take a piece of vellum and put down some adhesive just so it stays in place when I'm trying to color it. And I'm just going to color that in with that marker to make it match the layout better. It's an alcohol-based marker, so it dries really quickly and it doesn't smear or anything like that. And I'm using some Tombow glue, and I think about put it, actually I do put it there, and then I decide to move it. I like it better right next to the love. I'm just kind of rifling through my chipboard here to see if there's anything that I want to use on this layout. And I decide to put this little arrow there, and that's it for there. So for this part, I'm going to, like I said, use the two 4x6 and then the two 4x3 sections. And I'm going to take this acetate, it's or transparency, it's from Allison Kreft, and it's got snowflakes on it. I'm just going to glue the photograph right to it and then put a couple of little accents on there, including one of these Dear Lizzie little epoxy stickers. I really like those. Just kind of fiddling around and seeing if I want to add anything to that left side. I'm taking these two smaller pictures. I've already cut these papers down to 4x6 and 3x4, so they're ready to go. I'm just gluing those pictures down, and I have to resize them a little bit because they don't exactly fit. I don't know why I thought that they would. And I want to use that little arrow, but it says friends and fun, and that's my dad, so that wouldn't make sense. So I'm just going to use one of the little brads instead. And then I'm just going to put a little journaling. I just put something about like these guys love their chips or something like that, because my dad and my brother and my husband, they love some chips. So my brother tells some funny stories, and I think that he was telling stories to, you know, kind of take the pressure off of David. And because I know that, like, looking back on it now, David was super nervous, and he was super nervous like for like 3 days before Christmas. And of course now it makes sense because, I mean, you know, that's kind of a big thing. Anyhow, I'm just using one of those. I used a die on my last layout and cut some little with Avery dye and cut some shapes. I'm just using one of those, and then taking some of these Studio Calico stickers and putting December on here. And I'll probably write in the date, but I couldn't remember the exact date, so I'll have to do that later. And then I'm just inserting these so I can see how it looks. And again, I'm gonna fiddle around with some paper and try to put something on the left-hand side there, and I just end up going with a piece of washi tape because when in doubt, washi tape is always going to work. So for this little quadrant, I'm using this little, it's from the Dear Lizzie paper that's in the kit, and I had already punched a heart out of it, so I just took another scrap and used some washi tape and stuck it to the back, so that way there's some like little polka dots coming through. And then I want to use this piece of chipboard, but it's too long, so I'm just going to take my scissors and cut a little pennant shape. And then, yeah, that doesn't work, so I use some glue there. And then I'm going to stick a little piece of silver glitter tape underneath it. And I'm going to try to put it in the page protector, but I realize that that's not dry yet, so I'm just going to leave it sitting out on top. And then I'm going to clear away all my mess here for a second and show you what these look like side by side. So I hope you enjoyed this. Oh, I'm going to also put those grid cards on the back to journal. So I hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned for some close-ups.